Now, first off, I want to work out some examples where it is regular numbers with exponents. So before we get into applying the laws of exponents in other examples, let's work with some basics that we have covered from Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Now, the first one, 4 squared, it simply means 4 times 4. So 4 times 4 is going to be 16. Now remember, positive 4 times positive 4 will be positive 16. 4 to the third power. Now, sometimes students will understand the power of square. Some will understand the power of cube or to the third power, and some do not. Now, I want to point out, when it's 4 raised to the third power, it means this. 4 times 4 times 4. Meaning that there are 3 4s multiplying to each other. 4 to the third power, it does not mean you simply multiply 4 and 3. There have been cases where they see an example like this or a problem like this, 4 to the third power, they would write 12. That is wrong. That is incorrect. I do not want you to do that. This is why what I'm doing here is what I would expect you to write out your work. When it's 4 to the third power, it means 4 times 4 times 4. Simply means 3 4s multiplied to each other. When you write it out, you can easily see what you're doing. And when you write it out, it will help you go in the right path and get in the right answer. So I'm going to do this one step at a time. 4 times 4 is 16. And then I bring down the last 4. So 16 times 4 would be 64. So 4 to the third power is 64. Now, the ones on the right, what's different is that they have a negative and parenthesis. I include parenthesis to emphasize that the number inside is negative. So when that happens, when it's negative 5 to the second power, it means negative 5 times negative 5. So you just rewriting the inside twice according to the exponent. Negative 5 times negative 5 will be positive 25. Now the same process will be applied to this example. Negative 5 raised to the third power. So I'm going to write negative 5 3 times. Negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. Now, when you have numbers that are 3 times or more, it's always best you take it one step at a time. So first I'm going to do negative 5 times negative 5, my first two negative 5. So again, negative 5 times negative 5 will be positive 25. Then I bring down the last number, which is negative 5. So 25 times negative 5 will be negative 125. So you have to be very careful. Students would assume that with any exponents that they assume that the answer is always going to be positive. In some cases, and I emphasize the word some cases, when square, some will be positive. In certain situations where some can be negative. For example, take a look at the parentheses I wrote on my negative exponents. So, say I had a negative 6, but the parentheses is on the 6, and the square is on the outside. So this is what I mean. My negative is on the outside, but I'm only squaring the number that's inside the parentheses. So it's going to be 6 right here, and the second 6. I still have my negative on the outside, and then 6 and 6 will be 36. And then that would simplify into negative 36. So, be very careful. Sometimes when you see something like this, negative 7 squared is the same format as this: negative parenthesis 7 close parenthesis square, which will simplify into negative 49. Now pay very close attention. When there's no parenthesis and no negative, it is safe to assume that you are squaring a positive 4 or a positive number. Over here, you see that I included parenthesis on the negative 5 because the square is on the outside. It means that you're squaring negative 5. You're writing it twice and multiplying. Now here, in this cases, there's no parenthesis, but you have a negative. If that happens, it is safe to assume that the parentheses on the 7 and the 2 is only squaring the 7. So that means that I'm going to have that negative on the outside. So just like over here. So negative parenthesis 6 close parenthesis square is the same thing as negative 6 square. So when you have something like that, it simply means that the negative is on the outside, and I'm going to write the number that's inside the parenthesis twice. So 6 and 6 here, multiply the number, and then I distribute the negative. So my final answer is negative 36, over here negative 49. That's very different from positive 16 and positive 25. Parenthesis plays a big part, especially say you have the option to use a calculator. Be very careful what you type. If you see something like this, this is what it means for you to type in a calculator. Negative first, open parenthesis, 7, close parenthesis, square. So be very careful with our negatives. And then one more thing. I mentioned before, it's always helpful that you write out your number. So if it's negative 5 to the third power, it's very helpful if you write negative 5 3 times to see that you're multiplying. I have certain cases in the past where students, they write it out, but they mistakenly multiply the numbers incorrectly and somehow get the wrong answer. Their thought process was in the right directions, but when they're multiplying numbers, they do it too fast, they're rushing, and it will lead them getting the wrong numbers, therefore the wrong answer. So be very careful, take your time, don't rush when you're multiplying, double check when you finish, and be very careful with your signs.